Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. It's your Manchester United Transfer News Daily, where we talk about all the latest Manchester United transfer news and give it that real fan opinion. And we're going to start off with two potential Manchester United deals being done. I'll put a big question mark next to that because I personally don't believe one of them is done or ever will be done, but we are reacting to the latest transfer news. Let's start off with Daniel James from Swansea. Obviously, it was about a week ago that this broke. Very interesting story. Swansea, young Welsh player, 21 years of age. He'll be 22 later in the year. Apparently, like teams like Leeds and Everton were after him, and then the mighty Manchester United come in for him. And it's looking like it's going to be a deal done very, very, very soon. Definitely, I would say 70% of United fans were excited by it. 30% were like, who the hell is Daniel James? But I think if you adjust your mindset, this is probably the sort of player that we need to be looking for. He's got the potential to be... Look, I don't think he's got the potential to be the next Gareth Bale, but he's certainly got the potential to be a very, very decent top-class winger. And I think, you know, at his age, his hunger, it's a step up. You can't be a hypocrite, like I said last week. You can't say on one hand, Manchester United need to be going and signing players that have got the potential to be top class, they're going to want to come to the club, they're going to wear the shirt with pride, and they're going to work really hard in it, and they've got talent. He ticks all those boxes. Of course, like any signing, it could fail. He might not be a very good signing. He might end up being the next David Bellion. Who knows? But it's the right sort of signing for United, and it ticks a lot of boxes. He is very talented. He is very well thought of. He is exciting. He will get you, if it works, he'll get your bum off your seat. He's only got 1 year left on his contract. It's not going to be anything more than about 20 million, maybe even as low as 15 million. It's peanuts for Manchester United. And it's worth it. It's worth it. It's a young, hungry, talented player coming into that dressing room instead of the older player. Look, do you want Daniel James, young, potential, excited, hungry, or do you want Alexis Sanchez, old, finished, overpaid, not interested, and toxic in the dressing room for all those reasons? So no, of course we all want Jadon Sancho, but the situation we're in as a club, we may have to settle for the likes of Daniel James, but that's part of the patience process. So I think it's interesting. I also think that this deal could happen any time. If it's going to happen, it could happen any time because Swansea season's over, Manchester United season's over. The transfer window opened yesterday. Realistically, why can this deal not be bish bash bosh done? And again, that would be good from a United point of view. Get a quick deal done, a good deal done, and move on right at the start of the transfer window. A lot of teams seem to wait till June. We don't need to. They're an English club in the Championship. Well, they're a Welsh club in the English Championship, and our season's done. I think it could just happen at any time, and I hope it does because I think it is a nice first deal to move on to others. The second deal I want to talk about is Wan Bissaka. Now, the interesting thing about Wan Bissaka is there were people talking about Wan Bissaka done deal back in March. When we played Crystal Palace, he didn't play because he was injured. And there was some rumours going around he's not playing because he's signing for Manchester United next season. What a load of crap. He was actually injured. You wouldn't not play against Manchester United in March because you might be signing them to play for them next season. He was injured. He then came out about 2 or 3 weeks ago and said that he'll be at Crystal Palace next season. He's got a contract with them. That's what he's going to do. Now, what's happened in the last few days is that Wan Bissaka to Manchester United has gathered a lot of pace. Now, what I would say about that is I still don't believe it's going to happen. But what I would say is if it's going to happen because United have accelerated things in the last 2 weeks. I certainly don't think there was any deal done 3 months ago, and I certainly don't think there was any deal done before Wan Bissaka came out and publicly said he'll be a Crystal Palace player next year. Of course, players do come out during the season and say that, and they still move in the summer, but there's no way Wan Bissaka, when he said that 2 or 3 weeks ago, that United had any deal in place. So these in the knows who've said we've had a deal in place for ages, well, you've just guessed it, because there was no deal. There wasn't a deal. Wan Bissaka wasn't coming to United. I still don't think he is, but if he is, it's something that's happened in the last couple of weeks where United have got their stuff on. Would I want Wan Bissaka at Manchester United? Look, 21 years of age, very, very good right back. Why wouldn't you want him at Manchester United? My only slight reservation is what's the point in Delot if we go and buy a 21-year-old right back? Because if Wan Bissaka works, Delot will never play, and he's 19. And I think Delot is unlucky, really. He's a Mourinho signing. He's only 19. And I think people forget that because he's a bit big and he's a bit physical. I think he's got the potential to be absolutely brilliant. That's why we bought him. It's a bit like Ruben Diaz in Portugal as well, young centre-back. Everybody in Europe wants him because they know he's got the potential to be absolutely amazing. A lot of people wanted Dalot, and I'd hate it that, well, Ollie doesn't quite fancy him, so he goes and gets his own. I like Dalot, but, you know, if we get Wan Bissaka, what am I to say? But I don't think we are. I think... I heard a few things yesterday, and I'm just going to say this now. I even heard something yesterday from somebody saying Wan Bissaka to United's a done deal. He's going to get 100 grand a week, and something about a family member getting a university spot or something like that, which just sounds too good to be true. It's too accurate, that is. Maybe it's going to be true. I don't know. I'll share it with you. Maybe that's going to be true. But also, it's the Sun talking about Wan Bissaka and Patrick Van Aanholt. I just don't think this is going to happen. It doesn't mean it's not. It doesn't mean it's not. But if it is going to happen, it's certainly something that's escalated in the last couple of weeks, because it wasn't on the cards when Wan Bissaka came out and said that he was staying at Crystal Palace. But I know a lot of you'd be excited about it. Get your comments in below about Wan Bissaka and Daniel James, because, you know, I think one of them could be done very, very soon. But then again, both of them could be done very soon because of the same reason with Wan Bissaka. He plays for Crystal Palace. The season is over. Manchester United season is over. And the Premier League transfer window is open. So that deal could be done very, very quickly as well. So keep an eye on that if it's going to happen. The third player I want to talk about is Alexandro. He was mentioned, I think, this week on the Transfer Daily as United being linked to him. Actually, a development yesterday which fits in with what we were talking about, really. It just didn't make any sense why United were in for Alexandro. We know that United were after him last summer because Mourinho wanted him and United didn't want to pay the price for him. The latest story with Alexandro is that Manchester United are not in for Alexandro. This is a target of Jose Mourinho's, and United are no longer interested, which makes total sense. And to be honest with you, I like Alexandro. He is better than Luke Shaw, but if you look at his age, 29, he's going to be 29 next season. For the money that Juventus would want, it's not the sort of signing we should be looking at. But sticking with Juventus, quite interestingly, Cancelo, who is another right back. So, you know, maybe this is the Wan Bissaka lovers. Maybe this may feel him happy. He maybe going to have a good time on Friday. He might even feel happier now because Cancelo, who we were hearing that Juventus want to sell and a deal with United was quite likely, he's come out and said that he wants to stay at Juventus. So, is that the be-all and end-all? I mean, if we now sign Cancelo, is that the wrong deal for United? Personally, I probably think it is. I think it is. I don't think that's the sort of player that United should be signing. I've said this before. I don't want players who are coming here just because we're going to play them more money and they'd rather play somewhere else for Champions League football. I don't want players coming here for money, and I don't want players coming here because they're at a club where they want to stay, but they don't want them anymore, so they come here. They're not. We need hungry players, and I think Ollie's in tune with this. We need hungry players at Manchester United, and as good as Cancelo is, do you want Cancelo to come to United when he wants to stay at Juventus, but Juventus want to sell him? You're getting a player who doesn't really want to come here. You know, you want somebody on the upward curve, not on the downward curve. Look at Di Maria at Real Madrid. He didn't want to leave Real Madrid. Real Madrid wanted to sell him. We paid the money. He came to us. He tried a little bit, but his heart was never in it. We don't want that sort of player. We want the Daniel James player. We want the Jadon Sancho player who, if they want to come here, because let's be honest, if Jadon Sancho came to Manchester United this summer, he's coming to United because he wants to come here. You don't leave Dortmund, Champions League football and stability to come to Manchester United to play in the Emmerdale Cup with no stability. So I think we know with someone like Jadon Sancho, he would be coming here because he wants to come here. But I don't think Cancelo, what he said now, I don't think he's the right person to come to United because clearly he wants to stay at Juventus and he's going to be coming on the downward curve to come here because he doesn't really want to come here. Paul Pogba, let me talk about Paul Pogba very, very interestingly. As I said, Manchester United don't want to sell Paul Pogba. He's not for sale, and most of it's going to come down to whether Paul Pogba pushes the move and then whether Real Madrid or Juventus can find the money. I think it's more Real Madrid that Pogba wants. Well, interestingly, they've spent 50-odd million on Jovic. They're going to sign Hazard, who will probably... I mean, the interesting thing about Hazard, he's only got 1 year left on his contract. And will he leave Chelsea because of the transfer ban? So, but if Hazard leaves Chelsea to Real Madrid, how much is he... See, I think Hazard's only worth 60 million, and people laugh, but he's got 1 year left on his contract. So... You know, if he had 3 years left on his contract, he's probably worth about 120 million, 150 million. But with 1 year left on his contract, I think 60, 70 million. So add that to the Jovic 50 million. Real Madrid have already spent 120 million. Are they then going to go and spend 150 million on Pogba? and that's 300 million on Jovic, Hazard, and Pogba. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But I think there is the more and more I think about it, and it will always come down to what Paul Pogba wants. But the more and more I think about it, the more and more I think, well, maybe Pogba will be here next year. Surprising as that seems, you know, he signed for us in the Europa League. 3 years later, it's failed, and we're back in the Europa League. He's won the World Cup a year ago. He's not well liked. He divides United fans. He's not had a very easy season. Everything points to the fact that Pogba quite nicely might go into the Woodward and say, look, it's not worked out. I would like to move, please. What are the options? United could say no under no circumstances, or they could say, well, if Real Madrid pay this price, you can go. But I'm starting to think Pogba will stay. I mean, adding to that, his agent's been banned for 3 months. Adding to that, Jovic and Hazard are going to go to Real Madrid, and they may not have a load more money to spend on Pogba. But then again, maybe that's when, you know, they might not have 150 million to spend, but they might say, we'll give you a couple of players, and then it's about how stupid or clever we want to be. Because if you listen to what Solskjaer is saying and what the club is saying, Gareth Bale doesn't fit into what we want. We want hungry young players to come to this club to develop. Bale wouldn't fit into that. Kroos wouldn't fit into that. So it's going to be interesting. And I don't think the Pogba thing will really kick in till probably July with Pogba, I think, because is he part of the French team? They must have internationals. I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Going to be very, very interesting with regards to that. And also, I mean, the centre-back situation, the update on that, I know a lot of people want to know. Koulibaly, United want Koulibaly. I tell you what, the Koulibaly situation is very, very similar to Pogba. We're Real Madrid. Koulibaly's Pogba, and Napoli are Manchester United. Now, we obviously want Koulibaly, like Real Madrid want Pogba. Manchester United and Napoli, in both situations, if we're selling Pogba, we want a lot of money. If Napoli are selling Koulibaly, they want a lot of money. But realistically, that's the situation. We want Koulibaly. Napoli don't want to sell. Real Madrid want Pogba. We don't want to sell. So it's about what Koulibaly and Pogba want. And if Koulibaly wants to go and he forces the move, then maybe United can do some business, but it's still going to be expensive. And if Pogba wants to go, same thing. With United's Koulibaly purchase, I think it's going to be 80 million. I think that's what it's going to take, and it's whether United want to spend that. I don't think that Napoli would want any more than that. I know there's talk of 100 million, but you know, it'd be 80 million, I think. Which I would spend on him. But if we don't do that, it won't be because United don't want him. It'll be because he's too expensive or because he doesn't want to go, and that's always very difficult. You can want a player, but if they don't want to go, we've all played FIFA, it's very difficult. So what are the options then? De Ligt's going to go to Barcelona. I don't think you can get Varane from Real Madrid, so I think you're looking at Alderweireld or Harry Maguire. Or, God forbid, someone like Manolas. But Skriniar signed the new contract, so there was only 4 options for me. It was De Ligt, Varane, Koulibaly, and Skriniar. They're the top 4. And if you can't get any of them, maybe Harry Maguire. I don't think Alderweireld's worth it at his age. I don't really think he is. Anyway, link in the video description for Football Index. Very, very interesting look at that for you. I'm going to start off with Daniel James. How does Football Index work? Well, it's the football stock market game where you can buy shares in real life players and watch their price go up and make yourself a little bit of money. Unlike a traditional bet, if you put 10 quid into it and you lose a bet on a football match, you've lost your tenner on this. You can buy shares in players, you can watch them go up and down, and if they start to go down by a few pence, you can sell those shares and then invest them into somebody else. So there's loads of forums about it. Basically, the prices of a player will go up on performance and on news. And to be honest with you, I've done Football Index for about 6 months now, and in the January transfer window, players' prices go up a lot because they're linked to transfers. So I imagine the summer's going to be absolutely crazy. And if you look at Daniel James's price, if we go back 3 months ago, sorry, what am I clicking on here? I'm clicking on wrong thing. Yeah, if you go back to 3 months ago, his price was down at about 60 pence. 3 months later, he's nearly up to 2 quid, and that's because of transfer news. Daniel James is probably quite an interesting player because the minute he comes to United, his price is going to rocket, I would say, to about £4. If you're going to play this, I would go in with at least 20 quid so that you can buy 10 or 20 shares in a player, and that so that when there is a price fluctuation, you do reap the benefits of that. I'm sure, let me click on Daniel James's name. I'm sure that Loftus-Cheek, Ndembele, Koulibaly, His price is around 160 at the moment. Again, he's a player that if he moves, it will go up. But if you look at my portfolio that I've got, I need to tidy it up a little bit. But I do have a lot of players like Bruno Fernandes. I've got shares in him. He's 213 a share. His price will rocket again as soon as the transfer window's open. As soon as he moves, I've got Ndembele, I've got Icardi, I've got a few United youth players because they do well. Gomez, I've got Bergwijn, Koulibaly, Chong, Pogba, Rashford, Martial. I do want to buy. I tell you what, I do want to buy some shares in actually because I think he will definitely be moving this summer. And I'm just interested to see what his price is. A player that I would love to see at Manchester United as well, by the way. I don't know whether we'll necessarily get him. You see, Hirving Lozano, 155 a share, and his price is actually dropping a little bit at the moment in the last month. So it could stagnate a little bit, but that price will go up as well. Anyway, the link in the video description for that. Have a go on Football Index. Like I said, you've got to be over 18, and please do gamble responsibly if you're going to do it. But it's something to keep you busy over the summer. As I said, it's sort of like it's like if you like football, Ultimate Team or Fantasy Premier League, it's quite good like that because it's got forums and stuff like that, and you can build yourself a little bit of a portfolio. There's people who've made quite a lot of money out of it, but ultimately, you know, if it's your sort of thing, it is. If it isn't, link in the video description for that. But definitely the players that are going to be involved in transfers, their prices will rocket, and we'll keep an eye on Daniel James. Thanks everyone for watching. Please do get your comments in below about Daniel James. Do you think it's going to happen? It could happen any bloody minute, to be honest with you. Wan Bissaka, do you think it's true or not? And please do smash a like on the video, get your comments in, and I shall speak to you later. We may have a video going up today. It'll either be the United vlog where I played at United the other day, or it'll be the United Stand FC where we played Football Daily. That's depending if there's any transfer news during the day, but I'll be back at 8 o'clock tonight. Speak to you all soon.